Okay, what we'll be looking at today, cinematic elements, shots and angles. Shots and angles of the camera in relation to the subject. The long shot. This is a very long distance shot. It shows the entire subject, most if not all the background, and it's used usually as an establishing shot, as a beginning shot of a scene, so we can set the location where the characters are or the action is taking place. The medium shot. This is probably the most used shot in cinema. It's from the waist up over the head. It shows a lot of the background and it leaves room for a lot of the action to take place. So it's a loosely framed shot, and this is probably what you'll be using a lot of when you shoot your own films. You'll want to give yourself some sort of room. As you can see in this one, there's lots of headroom. There's room to the right and to the left of the subjects. It's one of what we call your bread and butter shot. It's something that you'll want to use most often when you're framing for action. Now, the close-up shot. This is when the camera pushes in, zooms in, or is placed very close to the subject. It's usually a shot of someone's face. It could be details. It could be details of an action that's taking place. A little bit different than the extreme close-up. Now, the extreme close-up should be used very sparingly. We don't want to use this a lot because it takes away from its power. So if we use it seldomly, then we can find that it's used to show strong emotion. It's very tight framing. It's zooming in on someone's eyes, and it's showing how they're feeling, as opposed to showing what they're seeing. This is the point of view shot, or POV. It's what the character sees. You can use this, you'll see this a lot of times. It's used in video gaming. This can be used in documentary type films, or it can be used in an action, or if you're trying to get into the character's mind, if you want to show what they're seeing. Another way to do this is a reaction shot. So we move back and see the reaction of one of the characters or the subject. A reaction shot is also used to show maybe what the conversation's about, what the action's about. So this is a form of cutaway, or a reverse of the POV, what the character sees and the camera seeing the character. So we look at the cutaway shot, which is another form of a reaction shot without the subject in it. This is just the background. This is to show something that's related to the scene, related to the story, but where the action isn't taking place. In this clip, or in this frame, you can see a cutaway shot of a building on fire. This could be this could be an establishing shot to show where the action's just taking place, or it could carry us to that scene. The over the shoulder shot. This is where two characters are in the frame. It's used to show a second subject, usually in a conversation. You see this used most times in news interviews, but it can be used and should be used in film as well if you want to include a second subject or a second character who are in a debate or even in an action. The Dutch tilt. So this is to show emotion. It's when we tilt the camera to the side, it's for mental uneasiness, so a confused state of mind. You can also use this for the Dutch tilt, or for the point of view. You can use the Dutch tilt as well. Please do not overuse this technique. It can be very disorienting and confusing for the viewer as well. So please be careful and use it sparingly. The high camera angle. This is an angle that looks down on the subject. it makes the character look very weak, small, or unimportant. The camera is an emplacement of power. It's high up where the subject is very low down. The opposite, of course, is the low camera angle. This is when we reverse it and we show the character in a place of superiority. We show them as important or powerful when we place the camera below them. Now, moving on to our second part of this PowerPoint, camera techniques or camera movements. How we can move the camera itself to enhance the shot. And I'm going to run through some very basic ones very quickly that you will utilize in your own films. First one's the pan. This is just swinging the camera left to right. It's where the camera stays in one position but moves left and right. So if you're holding the camera, you would simply move it like this without moving yourself. Now, the tilt, same thing, but you're moving the camera up and down. So we have the pan, left to right, and the tilt, up and down. Different than the boom. Now the boom, the entire camera moves up and down. We don't really have the equipment to do this, but you can pick it out in films that we deconstruct. This is the entire camera moving up and down. And as you can see from this shot, it's set on a type of crane or extended arm. The dolly. This is something that you can do in films, and I suggest using it to show action, to get into action by moving the whole camera forwards or backwards. This is usually put on wheels, but you could always walk it forward or walk it backwards. We'll talk about how to use the dolly more effectively in class. And we have the track. As you can see here, we have an iPhone on a type of wagon. It is when we move the camera, the entire camera, left to right. This is different than the pan. The track moves the entire thing. So it's a dolly left and right, where the dolly is forward and backwards. A track would be to the left and right. And as many of you know, the most easy way to get in close to the subject or to get in a tighter frame shot is simply to zoom in, to hit the plus to go forward or the minus to go backwards. We'll work more in our labs and in practice exactly when to use the zoom and when not to use the zoom. Now, our next tutorial or PowerPoint will be on transitions. Look for that in number 2, Cinematic Elements 2, which I will post shortly. Thank you very much.